Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's January the 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And just a couple housekeeping things before we get started on the chart lesson. Just a standard trading range today, really, but a couple other things I want to touch on first. One is this will probably be the last chart lesson this week. I'm probably going to go ahead and take off tomorrow. This is pretty much what you expect to see. This kind of we got a nice surprise yesterday with a nice rally, so not surprising that we're consolidating that move today. And there's always a chance we can make some movement before noon tomorrow, but I'm guessing that there won't be much going on. But either way, I'm not going to be here. So if you trade, good trades to you, but just remember the market closes. I believe it closes at 12:15 Central, but tomorrow. But you might want to go to your broker and just check that, or go to the CME and just double check that. But I'm pretty sure the market closes at 12:15 tomorrow. And generally on those shortened days, there's not much going on. Doesn't mean that it can't go straight up or straight down all day, but it's doubtful that's probably going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the day off, and it's not worth coming in in my opinion. So, but want to get that out of the way, and then secondly. For those of you that have asked me about the notifications on the post on our website, some of you haven't been getting it lately. The reason is because we turned it off. We did an upgrade to the website, and for whatever reason, it created a bug in the new post notification software, and so it was basically what it was doing. It was doubling up on some posts, not sending out others. And then it was also, if anybody made a comment, it was sending out updates to let you know there were new comments, and that confused people because it was on some old post. Some people thought it meant that their subscription had expired and things like that. So I apologize for the mix-up, but it was just a software glitch. But we've got it fixed now. I do believe we tested it this morning. All seems to be working well as far as I can tell, but we also upgraded it considerably. Before, you didn't have any option. If you had your email in there, you got notified. Now you can go in. It's the default is that you're not receiving anything, so you got to go into your user account and set it to notify you if you're getting anything. So if you want to receive the emails, and there's actually one box. If you check, it'll give you everything. And if you don't want to get everything, you can either choose just to get the midday charts or the new chart lessons that come out in the premium section, or just the free stuff. You can choose it to do whatever you want. So, but the default is you don't get anything. So until you go into your user account and set that up, you're not going to receive any updates or notices or anything like that. And that's good because some people don't want to get anything. And just a reminder, there's actually I actually placed a post on the site that explains everything. Just a reminder, we don't do any email marketing, so you don't have to worry if your email's in there. If I'm going to be sending you, bombarding you with sales pitches and things, I don't do that. We don't do that on our website. We're not email marketers, so you're not going to get anything like that from us. So feel free, feel safe to put your email in there if you want. If you just want to test it first with a generic email till you're comfortable, feel free to do that. Whatever, just make sure that if you want to get the notification that you have it set up properly in your user account. So, but enough about that. Let's talk about the trades. There were a few trades today. This is a really predictable day. There hadn't been much going since maybe 10:30 as expected. I mean, I didn't even past this trade here, I didn't even waste my time marking anything because this is just typical, late afternoon, nothing happening before a holiday kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that we can't break out of here at any minute and do something. This looks like a little spike down, and then what I call a spike in channel. We spiked down, but this was all news related. This little spike up and then down, I believe, was news related when the Fed chair came out and made some comments about how risky the futures market is right now, and that's probably code to the insiders to buy up all you can, and for the rest of you run for the doors and sell to them so they can stuff like that. I'm joking to some degree, but really I'm probably not joking because it's probably exactly what it means. But yeah, the Fed chairman came out today and said something about, I didn't even, I don't keep up with the news, but when the Fed speaks, I usually at least look to see what they say. But they came out with some comment about how risky the futures market was right now. And, it's not any riskier than it ever has been, in my opinion. If you're doing what we're doing, the most you're ever going to lose is 2 points if you're following the rules. And so it's no problem anyway. So, don't let stuff like that deter you. Ignore the news and just follow the price action and go with what it's telling you. And nothing else really matters. So, but that's why I don't listen to the news for crazy things like that. But and again, not to say that the market is not more risky. I mean, we may be at a point where we could have a huge sell-off at any minute, or we could just continue to go up. Nobody knows where this thing's going. I don't care what they tell you. Um, my guess is we're probably going to 2,000, but I don't know that. So I'm just going to follow the price action. If it keeps going up, I'm going with it. If it goes down, I'm going down with it. And that's my only goal and my only concern every day. Other than the fact I hate to see it go down big, because I do own a few other stocks that I hold long term and things like that for investments and so forth. So, but past that, I could care less which way it goes. I just want it to move where I can make some money. And even if it doesn't move on days like this, you can still make money, but it takes a little more skill and you have to understand price action. So let's talk about the trades. Tell you what I saw. This is more of a trading range right here. I originally, had this line right here. And so this was like a failed breakout, but you got to wait on the second entry. But it looked like maybe there was a trend line working up here with a break and a couple legs up. But, it's just really hard to make that fit anywhere in there. So, except maybe right there and right there. So really you basically have to trade this like a trading range. It's a failed breakout. A really aggressive trader, if they were trading at this time, might have gone short right there. But when you get the move up and it fails and it goes out the top first and comes down, just have you a sell stop sitting right there, easy trade. And then of course you break out the low side and you try to go lower again, and it traps people. And so when it broke higher there, that's a nice place to go long. And you see the little double bottom down here, and where does it go? It goes right back to the highs again, and it comes up a little bit short this time of where it was the previous time. And again, the only reason I don't mark this short off the high is because you got a trend line working up. You don't have a break of it yet. Now you got the break. You tried to go up once. You pull back and you try to go up again, and it fails. So that's similar to a failed second entry long, and it really is. If you that's a little two-legged pullback with a second entry long on a smaller chart, and it went higher first. I would have liked it better if it had have gone straight on through, but it didn't. It kind of hung up there with those. Let me make this a little bigger. With those matching lows, but when it broke lower, it's coming down here. There's room to get out, and I say just go with it, and and look where it bounces, right to the tick, kind of where it had bounced previous and where it was acting as kind of support and resistance right there. Notice that it's acting as support on this side, and then it's acting as resistance. It held again and again. So at this point, I actually originally had it right there, because that was kind of where the little double bottom was, and you might have started with it right there at the closes, and that's where it ended up today. You can see that's where you get the most touches using the closes included. So, but anyway, it bounces here, and this is a second entry long as well. Actually, the second entry long triggered here off the high, pullback first entry, pullback second entry, and then you get a second entry long right here off this side. And where does it go? Straight to the other side. But again, you don't want to go short. I just don't think you can go short without a break of that trend line yet. Wait on the break. It tries to go up once, tries to go up twice, fails. Just go short right there and rides it straight to the other side. It bounces, it comes up, and now you got this high, and you got a double top on a double retest. It fails, turns down, and you also had this little channel kind of working down here. This should be right here, and not right there. And so I was also looking at that and kind of paying attention to this trend line. At this point, I went back and forth whether or not to make this one green yet, because this doesn't necessarily confirm that trend line because it bounces off that resistance area. So it could have been bouncing off that, but when you got them both in play, that's a good. So I had a stop waiting for it to. I was hoping it would go on through. It didn't, but it just left it there, and it fills, and it goes right on down. Easy scalp. It bounces, but I don't think you want to go long above that bar, and it runs right back up. And then now you got your high, one test, two tests. Look at that bearish bar. Just go short below that bar, and you figure it's headed to the other side again, and boom, there it goes. And then look at this pattern. This is a repeat pattern of this one. You tried to go lower, you correct, you break and go lower again. It fails and turns up. It's just a repeat pattern, except this one is higher than this one. So now you got a little higher double bottom there, and this range is very clear now. By this time, it's real clear to see these lows here, and it's real clear to see these highs here. Go long there, and where does this one go? It goes straight on up. You can't go long right here. You might have thought about a long right here, but I just think it was risky. The news was coming out right around then. The Fed chair was talking, so um, it didn't really, it moved fairly quickly, but it didn't move. This is, even though this is kind of a high volatility news item, it's not like, when they announce interest rates and, FOMC kind of days, but it's still something you got to be aware of. And it did affect the market because it shot straight up and then shot straight down. I don't think you could go long here, but when it broke higher and kind of made the double top with the previous high, or did make the double top and turns down, I liked going short right there. There's enough room back to the EMA, and this thing just keeps on going. It bounces right off that previous trend line. And then you get a little two-legged move up, a little failed break higher again. You might have had this up here by now, and because it kind of worked its way a little bit higher, you get the most touches, and maybe even right there is where you get the most touches at the end of the day. So you might have even had it right there by this point. Turns down on, notice the new low, first entry pullback, second entry short. Then it comes back and it tests that high twice, turns out again, traps people on the high side. Now you get your second entry off the high again, and it takes a little while. It moves pretty quick, but then it kind of takes a little bit, but it's good for a scalp. And there just wasn't anything much worth fooling with after that. I kind of hung around here hoping that maybe something might happen, but nah, it's not worth it. And so, you don't want to enter in that mess right there, because the odds are you're just going to get hung in it and sit around there and watch nothing happen, watch grass grow, and probably end up with a losing trade in the end. So, but that's really what I saw today. Some people struggle these days, but actually it was kind of refreshing, because usually I'll get a lot of emails about people struggling on these days, these range days, because they get long up here and it turns down, then they get short up here and it turns up, and they just whipsaw themselves over and over. But that's why on a range day like this, the clue is look how prices are swinging back and forth to both sides of the EMA over and over. That is a sure sign that the market is in a range, and you can see these highs up here where you're getting most of the touches. You get a little break above or below, but for the most part, it's where you get the most touches. And using the close, and when you put that line there, it's pretty obvious that this is the support side of this line, and this is the resistance side underneath it. And same thing here, but you never could form any kind of support up on the upper side of the resistance line at the high, so that's not a good sign. That's a good sign that it's okay to go short, really, I guess is what that really means. So but draw your short-term trend lines. Be careful going short till till you've got a break of them, and then prices are clearly, going the other direction or whatever. And what else? But anyway, again, today was kind of refreshing, because I got several emails today saying people did pretty well trading this. So, those are some people that maybe have historically struggled with ranges. So it just is more. It's just one step ahead in their improvement, and that's what'll happen as you start to It's hard to trust going long down here at these lows, but look what happens every time prices came down here. Even if they broke lower after they came down here, they still went higher. Still, even though now you're not going much higher, you're still bouncing higher. And look what happened every time prices came to this upside. Even if they went a little bit higher, they turned down and they went to the other side. And it's so predictable. Um, it's just very predictable. And I did want to talk about this. Once we got to this point, you really could have removed these lines. I do believe there's a two-tier channel, but I believe that the range was taking precedence. So I meant to talk about that earlier, but I just removed that, and that probably clarifies it a little more. It makes it a little easier to see exactly what's going on this chart. So, but this was just basically a 65 to maybe even 67, 65, 75 to about 68, 50. So for the most part, prices spent the whole day in a 3.5, 4 point range there. But it's so obvious where the highs are, and it's so obvious, and you couldn't go wrong if you just bought the lows and sold the highs. It's scary doing that, but if you go back and study a chart, you will see this pattern over and over, and you'll see that the odds are on your side, even though it looks really bearish. I mean, there's a lot of people that just will buy these lines blindly with a tight stop, and they'll either be right or wrong. I like to see, the setup still, and if you wait on the setups, there's still plenty of trades. But if you just sold this blindly every time, you'd have had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners off the sales, and you might have lost on this one. So you'd had 5 winners and 1 loser. And if you bought every time it came down, you might have had 1 loser there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'd have had another 6 winners and maybe another loser. So you might have had 11 winners today and 2 losers just buying it blindly. I'm not saying go buy it blindly, because I don't like to do that myself. I like to wait to see. I want to see that there's proof and a break of a previous bar and, a setup before I do that. So, but there are people that just buy and sell them blindly. And you can see, you would have had a dozen winners and maybe a couple of losers if you'd have done that. This may not even been a loser because you probably would have been buying here, and I doubt it. If you're using a 2-point stop, you probably wouldn't have got stopped out on that one. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Again, reminder, no more chart lessons this week. We'll be back to do it Monday. I hope you have a great 4th of July holiday if you're in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., just enjoy the time off away from the markets, and we'll be back to do it Monday. So this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.